Good morning, everybody. Breaking Spectre here. How we doing? Long time no hear. It has been a little while. Good to have you guys aboard here. Just wanted to bring you guys a little bit of an update. Use this piece here as a little bit of a feeder as to some of the stuff that I'm seeing here. Hopefully you guys are paying attention as to all the stuff that's been going on around the coronavirus. Not a lot of talk about that across the media. Obviously, POTUS and that is going to talk about that here later today. I think there's going to be some stuff come by way of the CDC, but obviously this thing has been advancing now for some time. So I just want to give you guys a little bit of a window. Use this as a little bit of a starter piece in that for another discussion, and we'll see where that goes. So that being said, let's just jump right in. As many of you know, I keep track of a lot of stuff. And of course, by stuff, I mean I pretty much archive just about everything that I come across. So what you're looking at here is pretty much all of the coronavirus-related articles that I've stumbled across here since probably January 9th, when the article first broke, at least that I saw, via Zero Hedge, which was the coronavirus Chinese officials confirm latest health crisis caused by SARS-like coronavirus. And it was actually this article right here. It says, with the pace of economic growth slowing, a restive Hong Kong, a devastating pig Ebola plague, and a newly aggressive America looking to counter its ambitions on the world stage, Beijing is already struggling with its fair share of domestic and geopolitical issues. The last thing it needs is another quintessentially East Asian public health crisis. Headlines about a pneumonia-like illness spreading through China have appeared in the Western press over the past week. Officials in the region, including in Hong Kong and Taiwan, have been fearful of the virus's spread since Beijing delivered a notice warning about the virus on December 31st, when just 27 people were infected. As of Thursday, a little more than a week later, the number had risen to 59, with 7 in critical condition. And this is just, like I said, from January 9th. Now flash forward to where the numbers are today and how quickly this thing is actually spreading. And of course, that's precisely what I want to try and highlight here, is that this thing, if you've been paying attention, especially Zero Hedge, for whatever reason, they seem to be the go-to source here that has been keeping track of this. But day by day, they typically have articles in that where the headline has changed multiple times a day, and you can see that here. Many times throughout the day, the headline's been updated, and many times if you just follow the link, you're only going to see the latest headline right there. And so since about January 22nd is when this really started to pick up in earnest. And of course, mind you, this thing comprises many different facets. It not only talks about the government side of things, many different authors, not just Zero Hedge, but many different contributors as well. Lance Roberts, Paul Joseph Watson, Peak Prosperity, Mike Shedlock, many different contributors talking about this, obviously. And so there have been a number of headlines, and I just want to bring you some interesting stats in that I pulled out of my own archives here just today through about 8 o'clock this morning. And it says some interesting stats. As of the 9th of January, the first Zero Hedge article was about the coronavirus, and I just gave you a little bit of a quip about that. In my particular database that you're witnessing here, you got about 774 lines in that comprise coronavirus, and that's everything, not just Zero Hedge, but a multitude of outlets in that. 136 lines where Zero Hedge has had headline changes throughout the day, and so basically that amounts to about 468 total Zero Hedge articles since January 9th. Seems like a lot, right? In my own personal archives, I'm sitting at about 170 non-Zero Hedge, and so what does that mean? Well, of all the Zero Hedge articles that I keep track of, and it's every single one day by day as I've done for a number of years, about 17% of the articles since January 9th have been coronavirus related. Now, flash forward to the first date that I just showed you here just a minute ago. Back up here around the 22nd was the first day in which we saw the headlines typically change, and they keep track throughout the day. Since that day, about 23% of their total articles have been coronavirus related. So, what does that mean? Well, again, mind you, this comprises the full spectrum of not just the to-be pandemic, using air quotes behind the scenes, the origins, the backstory, the spread, the government propaganda, lies, deception, etc., but also the financial side of things and the fallout, the long-term impact, as well as the health side of things, the vaccine indoctrination push, etc., etc. So, why the push for this now? Well, if you read between the lines, I'm sure there's a lot of different ways this could be taken. Obviously, cui bono? That's always the question to ask. Who benefits, right? And so I'll probably have a little bit more to discuss about that, but nonetheless, I just kind of want to bring that to your attention and say, along with that, I've yet to come across a decent article comparing the to-be pandemic as we're seeing coronavirus play out, of course, throughout the world, this fear porn, if you will, to what we would normally see this time of year as a normal, quote-unquote, flu mortality rate. How does this stack up? Has anybody seen that? Have you guys? Have you guys come across it? On the plus side, I would say that it's probably easily defeatable. And of course, you're going to hear everybody push vaccines, 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 because government is always the answer, right? What would Ronnie Reagan say? 9 worst words to hear from the government is what? I'm here from the government and I'm here to help. Why are we putting our faith in the CDC and the government to come to our aid when we don't necessarily have to? Well, obviously, we got our own work cut out to do on that regard. But obviously, the propaganda push is going to be vaccines are the answer, of course. And as always, my opinion, and take it for what it's worth, you guys can do your own research. Gut health is key. Obviously, vitamin C, high doses. A lot of articles out there talking about vitamin C could be very beneficial, upwards of 3,000 international units a day. Vitamin D3 as well. Obviously, this time of year, a lot of folks do get sick. Why? Because we're not getting sun and everything else that we need to for proper processing and so forth for our immune systems. Probiotics, even some articles here just within the last week talking about highly oxygenated air and that being used in South Korea. So a lot of interesting things out there in that regard. Stay tuned. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here. But what does Q say about all this? Well, it's interesting because, nonetheless, we can go back to Q posts 1602, 1603, 2494, 2513, 2533, 2780, 3312, 3320, 3426, 3498, 3590, and 3784, where Q has quipped how many times over? Nothing can stop what is coming. No, not a coronavirus panic, not a pandemic, anything along those lines. It's still going to happen. So anyway, I just want to bring that to your attention. Like I said, it's just a quick and short piece in that here just to kind of kick things off. I'm going to have a little bit more to say about that here, so stay tuned and stay with me here. We're going to have a lot more to talk about here shortly. So that being said, Breaking Spectre here, signing off here briefly. Just want to bring that to your attention, and we will go from there. Take care.